Okay, good evening, Vietnam. Welcome to LZ Bunker. This is the Veterans Live Show. I'm your host, Ronnie Embers. I served with the 101st Airborne Division in Vietnam from December 67 to December 68. Tonight's guest, very special operator here, Spec 5 Ed Hepler. He was actually a crew chief on a Huey and was in flight when they announced the Paris Peace Accords, when they were signed, ending United States involvement in the Vietnam War. We will speak to him in a few moments, but first I'd like to let you all know the program is brought to you by Fallen Never Forgotten, Vietnam Memorials in the USA, featuring over 50 memorials in the United States, one from each state, with info and pictures, and it lists all of your buddies who never came home. Go to fallenneverforgotten.com for more information. And we're going to go right now to the headlines. Okay. Vietnam Memorial Traveling Wall has announced that it will begin its 2021 season in Melbourne, Florida, at the 33rd Annual Florida All Veterans Reunion. The wall will be displayed from April 11th through the 19th. I was there 2 years ago in July of 2018, and it's an outstanding performance. They got Hueys flying in. They got all kinds of tents and setups and demonstrations and food and music. And they have a concert area where they have guest speakers, things like that. Okay, this date in the Vietnam War. All right, this date in the Vietnam War, January 27th, 1965, the beginning of two coups took place in Laos. General Phunumi Nozavan once again attempted to seize control of the government. The number one song on January 27, 65 was Downtown by Petula Clark. In Vietnam, January 27, 1973, the Paris Peace Accords were signed by officials from the United States and North Vietnam, bringing an official end to America's participation in an unpopular foreign war. The number one song, January 27, 1973, was Superstitious by Stevie Wonder. Let's Okay, this is from Ladislav Sokol, March 1968. Navy Corpsman Theodore Rutkowski on the ground outside of Khe San's outer defenses. He used a stethoscope to listen to VC tunneling under the base. Very clever, very good idea. Next photo. Bill Swearingen, landing on top of the rock pile. His brother was there several months in 1966. Here he is. He worked the radio relay from the top of the rock pile. Thank you, Bill, for that picture. Okay, I took this picture. There's a Marine 155, what do they call this? Mobile track? Well, it's on a track. And you got a bunch of Marines up top, probably have a couple inside there, so you almost have a whole squad. In the background, you got a pagoda. And in the foreground, you have looks like the start of a graveyard situation. Okay, next picture. Again, from Ladislav Sokol. What a great picture. Look at the little birdies on his finger. Fly, little bird, fly. Look at that. That's a good one. Very good, Ladislav. Okay, Jim Blank. He left Vietnam mid-February 1973. He helped close down Bien Hoa, Da Nang, and Cam Ranh Bay, and he was stationed at Tan Son Nhut. I know what that TSN means there, Jim. Thank you. Great outfit. Got your M16 ready to go. It looks like a C-130 in the background. Very good. Nice picture. These are some of the cards that I found at a show, military show, gun show. Yeah, it has facts, 66 different cards. They have a picture, like the briefing, the president, Nixon and Kissinger coming in. After becoming president, Richard Nixon, who now assumed the American leadership role in Vietnam. From 68 to 73, President Nixon and Henry Kissinger were the principal negotiators in the Vietnam peace talks. Peace negotiations with communist North Vietnam were very difficult and kept secret many times. These negotiations ended with the Paris Peace Talks Agreement of January 27, 1973. those cards were made in Canada. There's 66 different cards. We're going to start giving some out to some of the vets who watch the show. Okay, here's our guest tonight, Ed Hepler. Welcome, Ed. How you doing?
Doing good. How about y'all?
Very good, my man. Why don't you just give us a brief bio of who, what, where you served, and when?
Okay. I guess I graduated high school in 1970. Joined the Army, did basic at Fort Polk, AIT at Fort Eustis, Virginia. And my first station was in Vietnam. I was with the 330th Transportation Company. It was a general support aviation company that did, rebuilt heavily damaged aircraft and stuff. And I was there for about a month and a half, transferred from there down to the 114th Assault Helicopter Company at Vin Long. And there I was a mechanic, door gunner, crew chief. And I left there. And that was my first tour. I left there and went to Fort Hood. They said, hey, we don't need aviation. We need tankers. So they put me on a tank.
Right. That's right. Yeah.
And I was a driver, a gunner, and then a commander. All within about 7 months. And then I told them, I don't care what you do, I want back in aviation. So they gave me a set of papers. I said, what's that? They said, you're back in aviation. I said, great. I opened them up. I said, going back to Vietnam is not what I had in mind.
Let me ask you a question. What's the MOS about door gunner?
I was mechanic and crew chief. It's 6 to 7 November. And I volunteered as a door gunner, and they needed door gunners, so I was a door gunner.
Do you train for a door gunner? Like, is there a school for door gunners? Do you just get in there?
Well, there was training for door gunners, but most of the time when I was there, it was just mechanics or other crew chiefs that would slide in as door gunners.
Oh, I got you. Okay, so a crew chief would train for helicopters, and the pilots obviously, and the whoever else, but like the medic and the door gunners were like, could have been anybody. Well, not the medic, but
the crew chief never really trained to be a crew chief. He trained to be a mechanic. You had to be a mechanic at first, and then you went over and usually you flew as a door gunner or something like that.
Oh, I get you. In case something broke down.
Yeah. And then you would be a mechanic. A crew chief.
Okay. So let's go. What happened with, where were you stationed in Vietnam?
First time was at Vin Long down the Delta, and with the 114th, and then the second time was with the 57th up at Camp Holloway outside of Pleiku.
So, like, you actually volunteered to go back too, right?
No, I wanted back in aviation, so they sent me to Vietnam.
Ah, right. Okay, I got you. So, tell us about the experience you had. What is this? 48 years ago today, about you were flying around and something happened.
Okay, we were flying a mission. We had taken off that morning. We had our guns mounted on the helicopter, and I forget where we were flying to. We heard, we were listening to, I think it's AFVN, whatever the radio station.
Yeah.
We were listening to that, and they came across and said, hey, the Paris Peace Accords were signed. The war's over, yeah. And we had flown, we landed about noon back at Camp Holloway, and they came out and took our guns off the helicopter and said, wait a minute, what are you doing? They said, the war's over. We don't have enemy anymore. And we got shot at more after that than we did leading up to the signing.
I don't mean to laugh, but really, yeah. So obviously the word didn't get to the VC and the NVA. The NVA maybe, but not the VCs.
Yeah, well, whether they did or not, they were just shooting at us.
Yeah, helicopters are prized in anything you want to do. You know what I mean? Sure. Just helicopters flying guy. Some guy in the farm gets out of his hooch, pulls out his AK, and pop, and you're flying by. You're not gonna know what the hell's going on, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
We were flying one time. It was after that we were flying. The South Vietnamese were still fighting, so we would fly.
Oh, you're right. That's
advisors. We fly advisors around. We had the Canadian peacekeepers. We flew them around, and we were flying along toward the battle was up ahead of us a ways. We were flying up there, and my gunner, I was a crew chief at the time. My gunner said, "I got 3 guys on the road down here," and the pilot said, "Keep an eye on them." He says, "Okay." couple of minutes later, says, "Hey, the guy disappeared, taking fire." And I moved over to his side of the aircraft so I could see what was going on. And I saw something fly up by the helicopter. So I went back to my side, and we
Rocket?
talked to special forces guys because we had landed at one of their camps,
Right.
and they said the small arms was probably 51s.
Yeah.
And the whatever that was, some type of rocket.
RPG maybe? RPG?
Yeah. Could have been. He didn't know.
Okay.
We were the altitude we were at. Something flew by.
So where'd you spend most of your time in 4 Corps? Down south in the Delta?
I think that was 3. Well, most of my time was down in the Delta on the first tour.
That's right.
The second tour was a little short.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, you went back and you showed up and they canceled the war.
Yeah. They were afraid of me.
There you go. And combat assault companies. How many combat assault companies are there?
I have no idea. There's a ton of them.
Yeah.
I was in the 1st Aviation Brigade, and so the brigade was spread out from the Delta all the way to the DMZ.
Right.
So
I know a bunch of guys. There we go. This is my first combat assault.
Yeah.
Yeah, going down to Cucci from Benoit. No, we were in Cucci. Sorry, going down into the Delta. Yeah.
Okay.
That was some crazy experience when you get in your first firefight. But thank you for the support and the whatever else you did to cover our butts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let me tell you, when we heard those Hueys coming, which sometimes you couldn't hear them coming in so fast because they were flying low. And I found out from a helicopter pilot actually on the show a couple of weeks ago that you wouldn't hear that helicopter even with that noise that it used to make, the familiar Huey noise.
Yeah,
the treetop level, it'd be right on top of you.
Yeah, and I don't know. We for the unit I was in particularly, we had reached the point where we figured we were already dead. It just hadn't happened yet, so we did crazy stuff.
Gotcha.
Swing around outside the helicopter or something like that while it was flying.
Nice. We had so many guys, believe it or not, like in some of the movies you see with helicopters, guys like Apocalypse Now or Hamburger Hill. Let me tell you, that was some scary stuff, even though you thought you were macho, flying there with the doors not open and then you hear fire and then the birds going back and forth. You know what I mean? You couldn't wait to get off the ground, and then you couldn't wait to get on the ground. And
if we were going to get shot, usually it's up through the bottom of the aircraft. So we set on ammo cans, helmets, whatever we could find to set on, we set on.
Right, yeah.
Hit me here, kill me, that's all right, but don't come up below me.
So did you do the same thing on both tours?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I'd go in as a mechanic, and then I volunteered to fly as a gunner. So finally, they moved me over to the flight platoons, and I'd fly as a gunner until I learned what I had to do, and I became a crew chief.
Gotcha. What was it like after the peace accords were signed?
Like I said earlier, they shot at us more afterwards than before.
But I mean, what did you do? What kind of if the war was over, what they took the guns off the helicopter? What were you doing? Like, you still had missions to do?
Oh yeah, we had a lot. And like I said, we were flying the Canadian peace observers or whatever they were. We were flying them all over the place. We flew them to have meetings with the VC, the NVA. Sometimes we'd pick up NVA or VC commanders and fly them into a place so they could have meetings and stuff.
How about any movie stars? Any showgirls or movie stars or politicians you fly around?
The first tour I was over there, we picked up Miss America and her entourage. Yeah.
There you go.
It's the airfield commander, the company commander, and us. The three of us flew down up to Saigon and picked them up. And we were coming back. The airfield commander had Miss America and some of her top girls with her. The company commander had several girls and the technicians and stuff that was with them, and we got their baggage.
So your helicopter had the baggage?
Yeah.
You were the luggage. Oh man. Yeah. Well, can't get no phone numbers like that. That's interesting. And anything really odd or peculiar happen on one of your flights, or a 2-year flight?
Yeah, after the peace treaty was signed, we called it the Ankh Pass. I think it's got another name, but normally when we flew through the pass going down to I think Quinyon,
Right.
we fly really high because the bad guys had the whole mountain range just about,
Right.
and we'd fly high. Well, after the treaty, things kind of quieted down. We said, okay, we don't need to go so high since we don't have enemy anymore. So we were a good bit lower. We were still kind of high, but a good bit lower. And we're flying through, and we look down, and we start taking fire. And it was so thick, it looked like water reflecting off of water. I mean, sunlight reflecting off of water. It was just sparkles everywhere. And so we started yanking and banking and got through there, and we found out there was another Huey a little ways behind us. He was a lot lower than us. So we landed, and at I think it was Quinyon we landed at, and the place we landed was a little helicopter pad about halfway up this real high hill, and the colonels and stuff, they ran out and said, "Are you the guys that got shot?" And we said, "No." They said, "Stay here. We're going to need you." About that time, we heard this other helicopter coming in, and he was screaming. And he come in, and we were about ready to jump off that cliff because he was coming in fast.
Oh, screaming means coming in fast. I got you.
Really, really fast. And he about stood it up on his tail and flopped right down. So me and a colonel ran to one side, and
really
the other gunner and a major or colonel ran to the other side to check on the pilots. We pulled the pilot out on our side. He had a bullet just above his elbow. He had gotten shot there.
Right.
And the other guy had gotten shot in the foot. So it took both of them to fly the helicopter. Wow. And I thought they did a really good job the way they came in.
Got you. Yeah, right. That's cool.
And
very good.
a guy in the back, he was messed up really, really bad. He's an RTO.
Right.
And that sight will stick with me for the rest of my life. That was horrible.
I got one for you. Our first patrol. We were out of Kuchi, where the 25th Division was, and sure enough, we took some fire, called the gunship in. Thing must have been, I don't know, 80 feet off the ground, 50 feet off the ground. Got hit with something, blew up in the sky and crashed.
Yeah.
That was crazy. Our first mission. And then we had to try to get the bodies. We wanted to recover the bodies. And man, that was bad because walking down the trail, because the stuff was thick and it was mucky, and we had to move. Oh, yeah. And first time you hear bullets go by, the one that you don't hear gets you.
Oh yeah,
like these little sounds, these whizzing by. It was sad though. Yeah, it was bad because the chopper burst into flames too. So
yeah, we had the first tour at this place called Dongtown. It was one of our sister companies down in the Delta, and we had Cobras. They had the Charlie model gunships, and he was on a run one night, and a friend of mine saw him. Said he was coming down on the gun run, and he hit like a wall of tracers, and he just burst into a fireball and went straight to the ground.
Wow, that's crazy. Now, 2 tours. What made you come back?
Just I told the guys when I was in tanks I wanted back in aviation. So they put me back in aviation, and it happened to be going back to Vietnam.
Ah, okay. So what happened with your reserve unit or your whatever?
I got out in 73.
Yeah. Your career.
I got out in 73. I had a 13-year break. Met my wife. We got married. I had a whole bunch of different jobs. And, there was something missing, the camaraderie, I guess.
Right.
That's what I was missing. And I was coaching my son's football team, little 7- and 8-year-olds. And one of the parents come up and just said, "Hey, you ought to try the National Guard. They've got to try one where prior service can go in for a year and see if they like it." And eventually I said, "Okay, I'll give it a shot." And I went in there, And 25 years later, I retired, and 23 of those were full time.
There you go. And what'd you go in as? A $1.05?
No, I went in as they cost me a rank. I went down to E4 to come in there.
Oh, so you were E5, you went down to E4, and then you're up to E9.
Yeah.
Wow, check you out, man. That's pretty good. Very impressive.
Thank you.
Tell me about your issue with the reacclimation process that we did not have as combat people.
Right. From my perspective, it was wrong to take people straight out of combat and then put them back into the civilian world. You know, they came back from Vietnam. They said, "Thank you for your service," and out the door you went. Some of the guys did that. And I think that made them have a really tough time adjusting. The ones I think that were lucky, if you call it that, they came back to the States and they still had a few months or a year or something like that to serve.
Right.
So that kind of acclimated them a little bit, you know, but to get out of the service, and when you come into the service, they take a civilian and train them to be a soldier.
Be a killer.
Yeah. But then whenever you get out of service, it just boop, you're back to the civilians.
Back to the neighborhood.
It takes the time to reacclimate and figure out what's going on. Because in the Army or the military, your place in the organization is well defined. You know who's above you, who's below you, and what your duties are. You get back in the civilian world, it's all convoluted. You kind of lost for a while till you figure out what's going on.
Yeah. The interesting thing about that was, like you said, reacclimation. Well, I was supposed to go to the 82nd back and forth Bragg when I got back, and I wrote some politicians and people, and I got a transfer. Instead of going to Fort Bragg, I went to Fort Hamilton, Brooklyn, which was 30 miles from my house.
Yeah.
And talk about reassigned to duty. I was put in charge of a ceremonial squad, burials.
Oh, man.
So that went like from one side of the coin to the other side of the coin, doing the funerals for people that I, just left. And it was, I think that actually somehow perpetuated my issues. And not good.
When I made Sergeant Major, you remember that movie Catch Me If You Can?
Yes.
There was an FBI agent chasing the con man or whatever he was.
Right.
Well, that FBI agent happened to have been a sergeant major in the Army before he went to the FBI.
Oh, no kidding.
He passed away. Well, they called our base and wanted somebody to be there to present the flag, when they were burying him. So my commander called me up and said, "I got a job for you." Okay. I went down. I was the one that, took the flag. It was already folded.
Right.
Here by myself. And I walked up, had to present it to the daughter, I believe it was. And, the nation thanks you for your service and all whatever you say.
Yeah.
And then I turned around and walked off. But that was something doing that.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to bring up that we haven't talked about with your service time in Vietnam?
I miss it. Not the Vietnam part, but the flying.
Oh, yeah.
I taught crew chiefs and door gunners while in the States. Every natural disaster that went on in the Southeast, we were at.
Really?
Hurricane Katrina, all the fires in South Georgia and in Florida.
Hurricanes. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Every bit of it we were at.
Wow. What kind of unit were you back? What were you reassigned to? What kind of unit over here?
It was a Huey unit.
Okay. Where was it based?
It was Georgia National Guard.
Okay.
And we were at a place called Winder to start with. It's just a assault helicopter company with Hueys. Okay. Then we got Blackhawks and we changed to a battalion, which we only had I think one flight company with us. And we moved to this place called Dobbins Air Force Base. And then when we were there, it's all these fires coming, and we were taking Bambi buckets and dropping water on the fires and doing all that stuff.
What? So, what do you like better, the Huey or the Blackhawk?
I'll always love the Huey, but the Blackhawk is a fantastic helicopter. Everything they learned about helicopters in Vietnam, they corrected when they came out with the Blackhawk. and
Oh, okay. So
fun.
it's more sophisticated, obviously. And what was it, 30 years later, though, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Well, the Huey was developed in the late 50s.
Yeah.
And that black one came out in the 80s, no?
No, I think somebody told me that the first units that got them was like 79, 80, somewhere around there.
Okay. Yeah,
And
that's
US
cool. Yeah,
started
yeah.
getting them from that.
Gotcha. Well, okay. Is there anything else? Let us know real quick, and we'll wrap it up.
I guess so. Thank you for having me on here,
No
and I
problem,
really
man.
enjoyed it.
We're going to send you a book. From
Awesome.
We're going to send you one of our books.
Okay.
And I just want to thank Simplified Home Loans for having this book to give you. And welcome home, brother. Thank you very much for your information. And
Okay.
stick around. Hold on a minute. We're going to do
Welcome
question.
home to you.
We're going to do question and answers and
Okay.
see what we can do. Go ahead. Okay. What do we got here? Ernie Jacobs, 509th Parachute Rigger in the house. Thank you, Ernie. Keep jumping. Stand in the door, brother. My brother was a rigger with the 509 in Mainz and Wiesbaden, Germany. How about that for a coincidence? Okay. Marie's back. All right, Miss Marie Kennemer. A crew chief and door gunner. Men who wear many hats. There you go. But I think his best hat is on his head now, the Command Sergeant Major hat.
One I
Okay.
never thought I'd have.
There's amen to you, brother. You did great. All right, what's next, Matt? Okay, Kilo 19. He has heard stories of crew chiefs climbing all over the aircraft in flight too. Guys are wild, he said. Yes?
Yeah, whenever you're 19, you figure you're invincible, or you figure you're already dead, so why not do crazy stuff?
What does he mean by climbing all over the aircraft?
One of the things they used to do, especially with the gunships, because the skids were closer to the body of the aircraft,
Right.
A new pilot would be flying. He'd say, "Hey, Chief, whenever we land, my windshield's dirty. I need you to clean it." So he'd get out on the skid and walk up next to the helicopter and start washing the guy's windshield off.
In flight.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. What do we got next there, Matt? The next question. Thor Farabar got out of the United States Air Force and wanted to be a door gunner. Went into the USMC and was a 0351, and securities ended up in the sandbox doing that. Security forces ended up in the sandbox. Thank you, gents, for your story. Oh, I guess his MOS was a 0351.
Yeah.
And ended up in a sandbox. I'm not sure what that means about the
It's
security.
over the desert. In 04, our unit went to Kuwait for OIF. And,
I get it. In the sandbox. Okay.
Yeah. And
Right.
we covered up to Babylon.
Okay.
I got to walk through the ruins of Babylon.
Gotcha. Next. Kilo 19. These guys literally developed the tactics used today.
Yeah.
Really? What kind of tactics is he talking about? Attack helicopter tactics or assault?
Well, even when the Hueys and even the CH-21s, when they first got to Vietnam, they didn't have gunners. And they learned real quick they needed gunners.
Right.
Well, when Desert Storm came up, some genius decided all they needed was a crew chief on there, and that was it. They found out real quick, hey, they needed guns on here for a reason.
Right.
So, that's something that took 20 years for them to realize what we were doing, they need to do again.
Yes. What do you got? Next one. Ed, what was your MOS?
67 November. And then whenever we got Blackhawks in, it was 15 Tangos.
Oh, gotcha. Good. Okay. And the last one is Airborne from Facebook user A Company, first to the 501st, 101st Airborne, LZ Sally, 6869. Thank you. I was there, 67, 68. Okay. Now, I have one question for you, though. The evolution of the helicopter, the tactics used, the gunships.
Yeah.
What was the difference for just the gunship? Just having the rocket pods on there and the 60s, or was there
Oh.
miniguns, right?
They had miniguns. The
Oh, okay.
Cobras, the Cobras had 40 millimeter, 20 millimeter miniguns
Right.
and rocket pods. The Charlie models and the Mike model Hueys, they had rocket pods and machine guns, and they also had door gunners.
Okay.
When they first came out with the Cobra, a lot of pilots didn't want to fly without the door gunners. And so they had to create new tactics on how to use the Cobra.
Okay, gotcha. Well, I got to tell you what, I know from the bottom of my heart and the guys I was with, when we saw gunships coming in, we felt a lot better and a lot more at ease, and we would kick their butts. You know what I mean? Lay some fire down in the hedge, in the tree line. They drop, fly right down the tree line and blast the area out and things like that. And it was really very, very thank you and rewarding for us to have you guys support. Well,
our whole purpose was supporting the grunts.
Amen.
That was our whole purpose.
Thank you so much, Ed. Talk to you soon, brother. Take care. Okay. Thank you very much for the show tonight. The book is brought to you by Simplified Home Loans. And don't forget to look at this up on fallenneverforgotten.com and bring you another show next week. Thank you very much. And God bless you and welcome home.